Eric, are you online? Derek?
Yes, I am here.
And can you send me to WhatsApp your data for Facebook, because I have put the conference in YouTube, but I have some problems to go to my, no, I put on YouTube, yes, and I have some problem to put in Facebook. You can send me by WhatsApp.
Yes, I can. One moment, please.
Yes, no problem. And now I put in Facebook, not. Hello, Alessandra. How are you? No, Derek, I think I can put just in YouTube or in Facebook. With my computer, I have not access. If I put in Facebook, I have to stop the diffusion in Facebook, in YouTube.
No, but that's no problem. I have here an app. I can share it on Facebook.
Okay, and you put the same title, force. I send you the link. The name is RCG. I put Gaucho Meeting. Then 30 a.m. You put I put in the chat. Professor Long, one of the next conference we organize in the Tibetan Plateau. Hello, Silvina. How are you?
Hello, Jean-François. Nice to meet you. No, non, je viens mon anglais. I have forgotten my English completely.
No problem. We understand. Now we have two guys.
Are you in France?
Yes. Unfortunately, I am in France from the end of February, and I can't leave. Hello, how are you? I can't leave. I can't leave France. Maybe at the end of August, I start again to travel. But now it's a little complicated.
Yes, I'm supposed to be in France in September, but I will not be able because the embassy of France is closed, so I cannot make my visa. So, but the fact is that now in Argentina everything is in the highest point of danger. So we are quite afraid, but for me, it's strange not to go out of my house. Not only not to travel, but not being out at all.
do you need visa to go to France?
If I want to stay more than 3 months, since I don't have a European passport, I need visa. So I was supposed to be 4 months in Paris. So I need a visa to stay there and to work. So I won't be able. Even if I could take a plane in September, I think I will go next year.
But another option you have is to go for 3 months, and before the 3 months, you can renew for more 3 months.
Well, once I did that by mistake, so I went to the airport with a passport, with a ticket for 4 months, and in Air France they told me, "Do you have visa?" I said, "Oh, I forgot to do that," and they say, so I said, "Well, just a minute, I will buy a ticket to go to Marrakesh or somewhere else." I did that, but they know that is not true, and they have the option to say, "Well, no, you don't enter."
Okay.
So it is not so easy. But I don't care. It is. I will go next year, and this year I will stay the whole year in Argentina working here, where we have a lot of things to do.
Okay, but I think in 2-3 minutes, maybe we can wait more 5 minutes, and after we start. I don't know if you have a lot of people on YouTube and Facebook. I don't know. I can check.
Well, thank you. It's very nice to meet all these people that I have never seen before. So I will stop my camera, but I'll be here.
Okay. See you soon. Now maybe, yes, we wait just 2-3 minutes, and we can start. I prepare my mate.
Jean-François?
Yes.
Perhaps you can precise time, because I had entered just by chance, because the other day Zoom was not working, and I was surprised to see that the conference is taking place. So, for example, in Argentina now it's 8:30.
Yes, in Argentina it's 8:30.
I don't know, perhaps it was not clear in the mail. 11:30 where? For me that was not clear, but perhaps it's my problem, perhaps. But just as an advice, perhaps other people have the same problem, and it would be.
Yes, you are right. I think for the next, we put all the time in the different country, because yes, it's a little.
Sorry, it's just what happened to me that perhaps for the other it is true.
Hello, Marie. How are you?
Hello. Good, and you?
Fine. Hey, Marie, you can if you want, you put directly your presentation in the screen, and you share. I give you. Everybody can share his presentation. Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Well, just it's 1:30 here, 11:30 maybe. Yes, we wait just 3-4 minutes and we start. Hermes is connecting. Bon. Emmanuel, are you reading?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Well, in 2 minutes, we can start.
Okay.
Hello, Hermes, how are you? Gabriela Litre from Brazil. Well, I think Xiaoping Ying. Okay, well, Emmanuel, I think you can start. Maybe it's better everybody close the microphone. Maybe my phone also, because just a minute. Oh, yes, I want. And if I have any problem of connection with Derek, as also it's also can also coordinate the meeting. Bon, alors the idea each one when we start we have around 20-25 minutes to present, and after we have the different, maybe yes, if you have some question, and let's go. Maybe the total for presentation is 45 minutes more or less. Okay, thank you. Emmanuel, you can start. I think now it's good.
Okay, could I start my presentation?
Yes, you can share. No problem.
Okay. So is it okay, the screen?
Maybe. Did you share your presentation? Because we don't have now. Okay, it's arriving.
Okay, now?
Now it's arriving. He said, Emmanuel Bert start to share his screen. Just a moment. Where is it? We have the live on YouTube, but I have not your presentation. Ah, yes, that's fine.
Okay.
It's okay.
So I can start my presentation now, yeah?
Okay, you can.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Emmanuel from Magala University. So my title of presentation is Estimating and Comparing of Greenhouse Gas from Livestock Type under 3 different production systems in Eastern and Northern Ethiopia. So the outline looks like this one. And as you all know, in the background information and justification, I think livestock are important part of the livelihood of the poor smallholder farmers, and it is also contributing to the country's economy, especially in the developing countries. They are very important. On the other hand, we have also an increasing in demand in the livestock products. So this leads, especially in the developing countries, there is dependent on the natural resources. So this dependent on natural resources, as well as this livestock also produces greenhouse gas emission to the environment. And this greenhouse gas emission also results in climate change, and the climate change by itself also have an impact, direct as well as indirect impact on the livestock. So they are dependent on one over the other, the livestock as well as the climate change, it means. So the livestock sector contributes globally. It means it contributes 18 up to 51% of the anthropogenic greenhouse gases. So from this 18 up to 51%, 45% is the feed production, and the remaining 39% is also from the intrinsic methane emission. And when we come to the gases, especially the greenhouse gas which are produced from the livestock, we have three main greenhouse gas, mainly the methane, the nitrous oxide, as well as the carbon dioxide. So these greenhouse gases are also measured in kilogram of carbon dioxide equivalent. So you do have different global warming potential, it means. For instance, if we take methane, it has 34 kilogram of carbon dioxide equivalent, or which have 34 times global warming potential that of carbon dioxide. And when we come to the nitrous oxide, it has 296 kilogram of carbon dioxide equivalent. It has more global warming potential than methane as well as carbon dioxide. So they are produced from different parts of the livestock. For instance, you can take from the feed production, processing, transportation, and others. We are producing this carbon dioxide as well as nitrous oxide. And within the animal, it will also produce this methane from the intrinsic emission, particularly those ruminant animals, it means. And the other one is regarding the manure, which is a byproduct of the animals. So the manure will also have produce this methane and nitrous oxide during their storage and management systems. So the statement of the problem is greenhouse gas emissions have varied among the production systems, among different production systems. So we need to understand the variation. So this understanding the variation will also help us in adjusting the systems, it means, without compromising the production and productivity of the livestock sector. So when we come to the objectives, the objective is to estimate and compare greenhouse gas emission from the three different livestock production systems. And when we come to the specific objective, to characterize the demographic characteristics of livestock owner and livestock production system, and to estimate the total greenhouse gas emission and their contribution from the different components of livestock, from the feed sector, from the manure, as well as the herd module, it means. And finally, we'll develop and test scenarios for the mitigation strategies. So when we come to the hypothesis, there is no significant difference in the total greenhouse gas emission among the different production systems, and there is no difference in percentage of the greenhouse gas emission across the three production systems, and there is no difference in emission intensity. Emission intensity means the amount of carbon dioxide produced per unit of product, it means. And there is no also difference, or the mitigation strategies will not bring a significant reduction in the greenhouse gas emission among the 3 production systems. So having, as I have already discussed it earlier, livestock is a very important part of the economy. Therefore, to continue to be ecologically acceptable and sustainable, so we have to reduce it, means the greenhouse gas emission. We have to reduce the impact which is produced from the livestock sector. So this requires understanding of the variation of greenhouse gas emission across the production systems. So in our case, there is no direct measurement for this greenhouse gas emissions. Therefore, we have to use or models, it means. For instance, what we use is the Global Livestock Environmental Assessment Model. We call it GLEMI, which is developed by FAO, so that we can estimate the greenhouse gas emission from the 3 production systems. So this by itself also will help the different actors in intervening or in reducing the greenhouse gas emission. So we have conducted the study in 3 study sites, mainly in Abala, Nderta, and Maghala. These 3 study sites are 3 different production systems. Abala is from the pastoral production system, Nderta is from the mixed crop livestock production system, and Maghala is urban production system. So what we did is we have taken samples from the 3 production systems. So we have collected different data regarding the feed module, especially the feed type and their percentage of contribution within the diet, and the herd size, the reproductive parameters, body weight, milk production, manure management system, and the distribution. So what we did is we have used different methods of data collection. So we have used also multi-stage sampling techniques. So first we have selected 3 districts based on their production system, as I have already discussed it earlier. And from these 3 production systems, I have selected 2 qabeles, and a total of 180 households were selected from this 3 production system, and 3 focal group discussion has been conducted, and questionnaires were pre-tested before the actual collection. So we have determined the sample based on the on this scholar. So we have taken 30 from each qabele, which is a total of 180 households. And the model is also developed by FAO, which is user-friendly, and anyone can have also access on the internet. We can use it freely. So the module or the model looks like this one. It has 5 modules. The herd module, which is regarding the livestock number, the productivity, the milk production, and others. The manure module, which is regarding to the manure management system. How do they store and utilize the manure? And the feed module is also the 3rd module. So this one is a contribution of the different ration within the feed, and the amount of digestibility, the nitrogen content, the emission, and other parameters regarding the feed module. And we have also the system module, which will calculate the energy requirement and others. And we have also allocation module, which will allocate the emission per kilogram of products, or especially the emission intensity, it means. And we can get the result at the end of the module. So the GLEAM uses different formula for calculating the greenhouse gas. So the GLEAM uses tier 2 calculation. We have different tiers for calculating the greenhouse gas emission, but this GLEAM I model, it utilizes this tier 2 calculation. So it uses different types of formula. And we have tested also three. I think we have used 4 scenarios. The first one is regarding the feed module, and second one is regarding the manure management system, and the third one is regarding the herd management system. And the fourth one is combination of the 3. So when we come to data analysis, what we did is we have used the GLIM-I for calculating the greenhouse gas emission and for each household. And then after we have compared the 3 production systems using SPSS by using ANOVA. And if there is significant difference, we have used also the stochastic test for post-hoc analysis. So when we come to the result and discussion, so males are dominant livestock producers in the study area, and their age ranges from 19 to 70 with an average age of 40. And this indicates that the livestock, especially the dairy sector and other livestock, large animals, they require physically enduring. And when we come to the level of literacy in the 2 production system, particularly in the pastoral production system and in the mixed livestock production system, most of them were illiterate, but in the urban production system, they are somewhat better than the 2 production system. So this indicates that the urban production system, they do have a better access to education. And this level of literacy also helps them to utilize this family size. They do have lower family size in urban production system. So this is also an indication of the level of literacy. So this is the livestock ownership in the 3 production system. So in the pastoral production system, we have camels, but in the 2 systems, we don't have these camels. And there is also a shifting of livestock from the cattle to the other livestock species or livestock types. So this is also an indication of the climate change. So when we come to the distribution of the livestock species in the 3 production system, we have the local breeds of livestock in the pastoral production system, whereas in the urban production system, we have this crossbreed and the high-yielding exotic breeds. And in the 2 systems, it is for subsistence. It is for subsistence. Their main purpose of livestock keeping is for subsistence. However, in urban production system, it is for profit making. So they do have similar problems also. So when we come to the main findings in the total greenhouse gas emission, which is produced from the livestock sector, from the study area, mainly the greenhouse gas. Methane is the main greenhouse gas emission. 82% of the gases is methane, which is produced from the increased emission as well as from the manure management systems. And the remaining 13% is nitrous oxide, and the 3% is from carbon dioxide. So when we come to the individual greenhouse gases, the first one is carbon dioxide. So we have compared the greenhouse gas between the 3 production systems, particularly the carbon dioxide. There is a significant difference between the 3 livestock production systems. This could be due to the utilizations of different inputs. For instance, in urban production system, they use different feed resources for livestock, for transportation, for fertilizer production, and pesticide. They use a lot of fossil fuels. So this makes it to be higher carbon dioxide production in urban production systems than the 2 systems. When we come to the second greenhouse gas emission, the second one is methane. So here we have also a significant difference between the 3 production systems. And in the urban production system, we have high amount of methane emission produced per unit of animal. And the enteric methane is also the most dominant one from the manure management system. So this could be due to the level of production, the body weight, and the genetic makeup of the animals, and the feed intake by itself. Also, if we have large body weight of animals, they will have higher intake, and this higher intake also produces higher methane emission per unit of product. And when we come to the manure management system, in the urban production system, they use liquid or slurry manure management system. So when we come to the third greenhouse gas emission, which is the nitrous oxide, so there is also a significant difference between the three production systems. So the other one is the emission intensity, the amount of carbon dioxide produced per unit of animal product, particularly per unit of milk or meat. So there is also a significant difference in the cow's milk. There is a significant difference in the emission intensity. We need 4.62 kilogram of carbon dioxide equivalent to produce 1 unit of milk, or 1 kilogram of milk, it means. But for the others, sheep and goat milk, we don't have. And for cow's meat and sheep and goat meat, it is there is no significant difference. Since sheep and goat meat, they are considered as a supplementary or as a secondary animals as compared to the cow. So when we come to the mitigation scenarios, we have tested 4 different scenarios. So in the first scenario, as you can observe from these figures, there is a significant difference. So there is a baseline scenario without any intervention or without changing the feed, the manure, and herd improvement. So there is a high greenhouse gas emission. But if we improve the feed, I think mainly 80% of the greenhouse gas emission is which came from the enteric methane emission. If we improve that one, it can reduce the greenhouse gas emission. And when we come to the manure management, there is also still a reduction. But when we come to the herd improvement, still there is an increment. This is because if we compare one animal with the local animal, with the exotic one, so they do have a difference in the live weight, and there is also a difference in the amount of intake. So this one could result, large body animals could produce more greenhouse gas emission than the smaller one. So the combined effect of these 3 interventions will result in a better improvement in reduction of greenhouse gas emission. When we come to the emission intensity, in the baseline scenario, it is about 18.64 kilogram of carbon dioxide to produce 1 kilogram of milk. But after improvement of these 3 interventions, or the combined effect, will produce 3.12 kilogram of carbon dioxide per unit of milk. And here there is a similar scenario in the mixed crop livestock production system. And in the urban production system, it is also similar to the first 2 scenarios. So when I come to the conclusion, we have already seen 3 different production systems. So these 3 production systems will produce variation in the production of the greenhouse gas emission. There is a difference in the productivity, as well as there is a difference in the greenhouse gas emission. So average greenhouse gas emission per household and methane were lowest in the pastoral production system, which is followed by the mixed. However, nitrous oxide was higher in the lower, nitrous oxide emission was lower in the mixed livestock production system. And the total greenhouse gas emission from urban was highest, which is followed by mixed and by the pastoral production system. And when we come to the total carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide, it was highest in the urban production system. And the emission intensity, it was lowest in the urban production system due to the higher productivity of the animals. However, emission intensity of cow's milk was not a significant difference, since mainly the cows were mainly reared for milk production. So there is no significant difference in the emission intensity in meat. And the emission intensity of sheep and goats milk and meat was not significant among the production system. So, but if there is intervention, the intervention in feed module, manure module, as well as herd module. So these three modules will have an impact in reduction of the greenhouse gas emission. So the synergetic effect of these three effect has reduced the greenhouse gas emission. So when we come to the recommendation, so we have to create awareness among the farmers and other stakeholders so that we can improve the livestock sector, the production and productivity, and thereby also we have to reduce the greenhouse gas impact on the environment. So the following strategies for increasing productivity while reducing the greenhouse gas emission were recommended. So we have to improve the feed quality and the manure management, as well as the herd module should be improved so that we can reduce the greenhouse gas emission. So in most of the developing countries, including our country, Ethiopia, there is a large number of livestock population, but their productivity is very low. So we have to either replace by the better producing animals, or we have to crossbreed them so that we have to reduce their impact by the greenhouse gas emission. So in the module GLIM-I, there is no consideration in the draft oxen as well as the camels. So further study should be conducted, especially on the draft oxen as well as the camels. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel, for your presentation about green gas emission in cattle in different places of Ethiopia. Anybody have a comment about this presentation, or question, or maybe a question, or maybe Professor Long, our specialist in I have 2 or 3 questions, but I prefer, or maybe your supervisor.
Yes, I am here, if I may add something.
Yes.
Yes. Good morning or good afternoon, everybody. My name is Molubran. I work with Emmanuel. I am his supervisor. And I thank Emmanuel for the very succinct presentation. Thank you so much. So I will be happy to receive any questions, but then wanted to make something clear. This was a study across 3 production systems, like Emmanuel said. So we have the pastoral system in Ethiopia. It covers more than 60% of the land cover in Ethiopia, where there is extensive pastoral production. Livestock are reared in a very vast area of rangelands. The productivity is very low. Also, the number of livestock is also limited. The other is the mixed crop livestock production system, is dominant in the highland areas of Ethiopia. There we have the largest concentration of livestock in the country, but because of a large number of animals, the productivity is again very low. It's still subsistence, they don't market. The third one that he compared was the urban and peri-urban production system. This is a newly growing production system where we have people producing livestock for profit. So they produce milk and meat and they sell them for the urban areas. Like you saw there, these are the ones which have the largest emission, but the better intensity of emission. I mean, they produce lowest per output. So we need to have the largest improvement in the pastoral as well as the mixed farming systems than these ones. I just wanted to make that clear in case some of you may not know about Ethiopia and the production system, but we'll be open for any question.
Okay, thank you very much for the compliment. Maybe I have one or two questions, but if one of you want to ask the first, well, nobody, maybe just a moment. Sorry, I have you. Where is your, yes, where is your, yes, my first question, why you decide at the beginning in your hypothesis, there are not significant reduction of green gas emission between the three production system? What the reason you decide as the first hypothesis, we don't have difference between the system? It was a strategy, or for what reason?
So Amanil, do you want to go or?
Okay, what we did is we have used the null hypothesis. So,
okay, it's a negative hypothesis. Huh?
Yeah.
So like he said, basically our intention was to see the difference, but we knew that there would be difference. We
Yes.
want to quantify the difference, but obviously, of course, we understood that there was a difference. So we went for the null hypothesis and put a negative statement.
Yes, and my second question is more regarding your conclusion. And you say that it's better to have just some animals to have the same production. But in my understanding, in the three different livestock system, pastoral, mixed, and urban, there are a lot of people working, and we have social issues, cultural issues, a lot of other criteria to than only the production.
That's true, and a very important issue also. I mean, when we suggested that we need to replace the animals and bring more productive ones, we know that this might not work for the pastoral system, for example, also for the mixed crop livestock. People there, they want to have large number of animals regardless of their productivity. This recommendation, perhaps Amanil should have been very specific, might work for the urban and peri-urban systems, for the profit-oriented systems, not for the pastoral systems. The government in Ethiopia have been trying to introduce more productive breeds to the pastoral and mixed systems, but it didn't work for a long time because of the social issues that you raised. So yes, this should be only specific for the profit-oriented urban systems, not the other one.
Yes, because and for you, Emmanuel, I think for your research, it's really it's very important. You can say, okay, if we decide to evaluate only in terms of production of meat and milk, and evaluate the total of the green gas emission, okay, it's better to change completely the system. But the main advantage of the three systems, and the first is the three systems are existing. That means to change is very difficult, and we can't only evaluate on one criteria based on the. I know, and maybe when you say we have to improve, but if you are looking, for example, in Europe today, the main part of the production is based on subsidies. Maybe when you talk about production, it's a production of what? It's a production of milk, it's a production of meat, or is to the maintenance of the people in the country, etc., especially in the south. And all the other function of livestock, maybe we, I know, but if you adopt, maybe it's my opinion, if you adopt a very specific about green gas emission and production, maybe these systems are not efficient, but for many other function and criteria of evaluation, these systems are very efficient. It's more my opinion. I don't know. So we have other question, or somebody want to ask a question? Not. Maybe I have my third question. And you, for example, Emmanuel or Mulumburana, you decide. And the president of Ethiopia call you to as an advisor to maybe to change, to reduce the green gas emission at the national level, maybe on these 3 livestock farming systems. What are your main recommendations? Considering all the other functions of livestock.
Emmanuel, I can go first and you can follow if you want, or... Okay, so yeah, we really understand that the greenhouse gas emission, if you take it literally, it is not of a great interest to the Ethiopian government, also people. But the truth is, in livestock production, greenhouse gas emission reduction is equal to improving productivity. So when you do reduce, or when you implement strategies for reducing greenhouse gas emission, you are actually improving productivity. That's what we saw from there. So yes, even the government has this livestock sector master plan for the next 20 years. And reducing greenhouse gas emission while improving productivity is an objective there. So we don't even need to advise the government, they already have it as a plan. So we would just give them some of the strategies, like replacing roughages, improving the roughage quality, because Ethiopia has most of its feed from roughage, by the way. 90% of feed in Ethiopia is from crop residues. So we would go for technologies for improving the quality of crop residues, so we would have more productivity and reduce greenhouse gas emission. But that's true. We would not compromise any other benefits, like the social benefits, the environmental benefits of livestock, for just reducing the greenhouse gas emission. But in most of the systems, reducing greenhouse gas emission goes in line with improving the productivity. I don't know if this makes sense to you, but more answer.
No, I'm not sure. Maybe
okay, we have to,
yes.
Okay. So we have to consider also the other social benefits. So when we are improving the herd or the livestock sector, we should not bring anything new, but for instance, we can cross the local breeds so that we can enhance the production and productivity. Therefore, what is important thing is we have to improve the livestock productivity, and we have to reduce also the greenhouse gas emission. This is also mentioned in the environmental policy in Ethiopia. We have a large document on the environmental policy of Ethiopia. So this is already mentioned on that document also.
Okay, no, thank you very much. It's very interesting. But and this kind of consideration you have to put in the, maybe you have to just some word or some sentences at the beginning of your thesis, and maybe at the end in the conclusion. It's very important to say no. From an, regarding only green gas emission and productivity, well, this is, but we have other criteria, and this is more interesting also in research to the complementary effect.
That's true.
Okay, well, maybe if we don't have other question, maybe Linda can start her presentation. Linda, are you online? Where is Linda? Linda? Ah. Linda is not online. I don't see Linda. Or maybe Marie? Marie, you can start to present, because Linda was with us during, no, Linda is not. No, I think Linda is not connected. Maybe Marie, you can start.
Sure. I'll try to.
Yes.
Share my screen.
Keep cool. Keep cool. You have five minutes. Don't worry. I don't know, because Linda said she have some problems with her connection. She sent me his presentation, and but she's not on Linda. Sorry, where is my screen? No, I lost my screen. Yes. Ah. Okay.
Well, if you want to, maybe we can wait 5 minutes if she appears and then do a presentation. I don't know what you prefer. Or should I start? Can you see the screen?
Yes. And you put a large screen because the screen is small. Okay, that's fine. Perfect.
Okay, so I guess I'll start then. I hope you can all hear me fine. If not, just scream and I'll stop. I'll try to fix it. So good morning, everyone. I would like first of all to thank the team who organized this event, obviously, and invited me to present this case study. So we talked about different types of livestock farming earlier with the first presentation, and now I'll present the case of the Marajo Island, which is actually populated by more buffaloes than humans, and its relationship with rangelands. So the title of this presentation is The Rangeland Dilemma, the Marajo Island case study. And this study was made by Tienne Barbosa, who cannot be here today, Jean-François Tourin, and myself. So I'll try my best to present it. So rangelands are a set of social ecosystems which are essential for humanity, especially in terms of water cycle, erosion reduction, biodiversity, and carbon sequestration. But they are also facing the expansion of human activity, largely agricultural, obviously, and This is leading to the irreversible destruction of natural ecosystems for the implementation of intensive and mainly unsustainable agricultural systems. So in other words, the dilemma is between the destruction of rangelands in the name of local developments, and on the other hand, rangelands conservation, including actions to improve its competitiveness. So I'll start by a brief presentation of the Marajo Island, its rangelands, and the land issue linked to it. I'll then try to describe the livestock activity and its challenges, as well as the challenges of family farming and the scenarios for the futures and what it means regarding the rangeland dilemma. So the Marajo Island is located in the Pará state in Brazil. It is a part of the Amazonian biome, and it's actually located at the mouth of the Amazon River. So it is located near Belém, which is the capital of the state of Pará. And the Marajo Island is the main part of the Marajo archipelago, which is also called the Marajo region, as you can see here. So the main island in the center, and actually the Marajo region are all the small islands next to it. The main island itself is twice the size of Belgium, to help you realize a little bit its size. And it represents 8% of the state of Pará and 1% of Brazil. The region is approximately the size of Portugal or South Korea, for example. So Marajo has about 400,000 inhabitants located in 16 counties, and 56% of its population lives in the rural area. So the main town, we can see them with black dots here, are Sori, Salvaterra, Joanes, and Cachoeira do Hari. The archipelago is divided in two parts. The forest that makes up for 2/3 of the region that you can see in green here on the map. And the last third at the eastern part is rangeland. And you can see it in red on the map right here. So here we wanted to show you what the rangeland of Marajo looked like. As you can see, water is omnipresent, as we'll explain later. And the buffalo can be used as transportation, as they can easily go in the water. Then the forest part, obviously the vegetation is completely different, very dense, and the houses are always elevated because of the tide of the river. In winter especially, the water rises, turning the access to the island quite difficult actually. So to sum up the history of Marajo in a few words, we need to talk about the pre-Columbian era, where Native Americans with a strong identity and culture used to prosper. They lived alongside the river with a subsistence agriculture based on natural resources like seeds, fruits, and fishing. During the colonial period, the Marajo progressively became the hinterland, quite the suburbs almost, of Belém, which already was an urban center where diverse food supplies and handicraft were exported to Europe. Then during the 19th and 20th century, this process continued, and Belém grew a lot due to the Amazon rubber boom. Then from the 60s until now, The Amazonian colonization radically changed the agricultural frontiers, but weirdly enough, the Marajó Island was not affected as other regions, but did suffer from a rural exodus to Belém, especially of the youth. So currently, and this was very visible in the interviews we conducted, the island lacks infrastructures in various sectors, such as public health, education, access to clean water, energy, local transportation, communication, and the accommodation of tourists. Concerning the land issues in the rangeland part of the island, the land concentration started in the 18th century when the island was divided into 50 sesmarias. The rangeland part was invested faster as the control was easier than on the forest part, on the forest covered land. And it is during the military government period that the land concentration was consolidated in Marajó, with the emergence of new landowners, both national and foreign companies. But few of the traditional inhabitants of Marajó were able to take advantage of the land ownership opportunity, actually. So the result today is a land situation made of huge properties on one side, which have become ranches. They are controlled by a few families with diverse communities of descendants of original population on common land in the gaps, actually. So these huge ranches represent 13% of the farms, but they use 90% of the land. Over the decades and centuries, the small producers took over small plots of land that they cultivate for their subsistence. So the population growth means that young people settling in, they must either divide up their parents' land or lease land from the ranches. These small producers, they represent 87% of the farms, but only 10% of the land. Now, concerning the large ranches versus small producers on the island, due to their different breeding techniques, they have different impacts on the rangeland and face different challenges. I'll try to sum up next. So the livestock activity in Marajó started in the 16th century with just a few animals on the farm, but it's only in the 19th century that buffaloes were introduced into the island. So the sources differ regarding their introduction, actually. Some they say that they were brought to the island by a breeder, and others say that buffaloes arrived in the island because a boat going to French Guiana sunk near the island and the animals had to swim to Marajó. And they actually adapted very well to this environment as they have the ability to live and swim on flooded land. And they are also able to valorize fodders of quite low quality. Zebus were then introduced in the 20th centuries as well as pasture improvements with cultivated fodder. So the production is very extensive with a low productivity rate, and the meat and cheese are mainly sold in Belém. Now, concerning the challenges of livestock ranching, as you saw on the pictures, Marajó is on the water and is actually quite flat. So what you have is a fragile lowland ecosystem due to stagnant water with no drainage. So this results in residues pollution, animal parasitism, and cropping constraints, obviously. But during the summer, the water is actually scarce and this may result in animal losses. So the lack of pasture management leads to serious pasture degradation. So in order to stop this degradation, the investments in pasture management are very high. And that's why until now, the only recuperation method is to implement cultivated pasture, which actually destroy the natural rangeland. In family farming now, the situation is actually similar, but you also add to this the land access issue, common land management problem, and the lack of policy. So in addition to that, small producers find low public support due to the lack of land status and a weak awareness for capacity building in sustainable agriculture, food processing, and social organization. So it is very common to see short cycles of slash and burn agriculture and also the use of chemicals. So now, what are the future scenarios for the Marajo ecosystem? So we actually see three options. The first one is if no significant changes happen regarding policies, which we think will lead to more degradation of rangeland in ranching, more rural exodus, especially within the youngest part of the population, and both land conflict and local violence due to serious social gaps between small producers and fazendeiros. The second option is the development of an intensive agriculture with investments allowed by specific policy, which could lead to economic development with local employment, but would also contribute to rangeland destruction and serious pollution risks. The third option is an adequate rangeland public or private policy, which could lead in an appropriate land access for the landless and the small producers, with technical and financial support to encourage rangeland management and capacity building in sustainable agriculture and social issues. So if we come back to the rangeland dilemma that I exposed first, we see two main points: the progressive and problematic degradation of rangeland due to the low productivity of the current land use, with loss in biodiversity and pollution. And we are witnessing a strong economic and social gap between fazenderos and small producers. The second point is the development of intensive agriculture with possible economic development with local employment, but worsening social and economic gaps, and obviously more environmental impacts. So we think the solution here is an alternative based on rangeland policy, considering the land issues and trying to reduce the social and economic gap. So we put there some examples of sustainable agriculture, tourism, environmental parks and reserves, etc. So to conclude, now we think we need appropriate rangeland public policy, like capacity building in sustainable agriculture, food processing, social organization, financial support adapted to small producers, and incentives to promote succession plans within the small producers to allow the youth to actually take over the small production farms and not go to the city. And we also identified a need of social public policies, actually, helping with access to education, health facility, and public transportation, for example, to reduce the exodus to Belém or other cities. So thank you for your time, and we're actually open to questions. I hope Jean-François can maybe help me on this one.
Okay, thank you very much, Marie, for your presentation. Well, maybe before to, I think Linda is online. Maybe Linda came back.
Yes, please.
Okay, yes, but after any question regarding the presentation of Marie or comments or some suggestion? No suggestion? No comments? Very well. Now, Marie,
Hello?
you PhD.
Hello?
Hello?
I'm not. I've joined the meeting quite late, and I'm not sure if it's going to be open for discussions. It's fascinating, this whole presentation. Is it going to be open for discussion or?
No, the idea is to have after each presentation, maybe if you have one or two questions or comments or suggestions.
Yes, I do. I've been at Marajo Island. I'm a professor at the University of São Paulo.
Yes.
And recently, we submitted a project together with Italian friends to improve the sustainability of buffalo, because there's some real bottlenecks with buffaloes. The slaughterhouse that is in the island, it needs appropriate measures to bring it to standards. It has no federal inspection, is inspected by the municipality. And my question is, do you have any mechanism to bring market strategies to facilitate establishment of sustainable alternatives to the island? I was fascinated by the possibilities, but when I tried to bring people on this project, I did feel a real absence of a organized strategy where we could focus, for example, on the slaughter plant, because no meat produced on that on the slaughterhouse can reach any market because of the lack of appropriate measures in terms of inspection and good care for the animals. The situation of the animals being killed there it's not very good. Anyway, then the question is, are there any possibilities of using market strategies to improve sustainability of the systems at the Marajo Island? Everybody's quiet.
Marie?
Sorry, I was on mute actually, sorry. Actually, I agree with you. It's actually quite difficult to get there on the first place, and then I think strategies are needed. But I personally think that this will rely a lot on access to transportation, communication, so through public policies, I guess. For example, to go there during the winter is actually quite impossible due to the water rising. And then once you're there, it's actually sometimes difficult to take the main road because of the water access. So I guess public policies is a first step to try to improve this. I don't know what Jean-François thinks. Maybe you can add.
Yes, you are right, Marie. You are right. It's and just a comment, but that we start our first research also with postgraduate student. I think it was in 93 or 94. And yes, 30 years ago. And as I was young at this time with black hair like this. But I remember the result was more or less the same. As is during 30 years, we have a lot of change, but many things didn't change during 30 years. And it's a very interesting question in terms of development, because Marajo, in one end, is very near from Belém. That means, for example, 30 years ago, a small producer decided to transform their milk to make cheese, and they directly sell their cheese in Belém, with no control about the quality and the safety of the but it is they produce milk, they make cheese. 2 or 3 days after, they go directly to Belém and they integrate with their cheese the local market. And 30 years ago, Belém was around 1.5 million inhabitants. That means the market was very important to receive this market, this product, this cheese. And but only today we have 2 or 3 small cheese factory, but with a very low control of weak control of legislation, and people continue to produce more or less in the same situation. 20 years ago, it was starting to develop pineapple production, and it was also the same small producer profit this opportunity to produce pineapple and to send directly to Belém. And this is very interesting in terms of rangeland. And maybe in 2 weeks we have Professor Long is organizing a meeting in the first international Everest Forum. But about this, about more or less the same, how we can have a production in a rangeland, and the opportunity to access to the market. And maybe the main problem for me in Marajo is not the access to the market, because the market is very near, but it is a good and safe product, cheese, milk, meat, different. And it's more than that, it's the problem of organization of the breeders, in this case, or the small holders of the breeders. And secondly, to access to the land, because if they don't have the young, especially the young breeders, if they don't have land to produce, it's very easy for us to go to Belém, to work all the week in Belém, and come back in Marajo. It's 4 or 5 hours by boat to cross the river. And certainly we need to have a better. We can research this point by the market, by other. But as Marie said very well, the main is a global policy at the scale of the region, because it's like a suburb of Belém.
I am amazed. I have no idea of the time that people have been investing in running that. And it must be frustrating to see that the problems are still the same. And I left my email in the chat, and if you move ahead with this idea of sustainable trade of these products, the University of Sao Paulo has a real strong interest to be part of activities on that nature. And in relation to especially animal products like milk and meat, we have a plan in development, and we are waiting to see the outcome of a grant that we submitted recently with collaborators in Italy. And I apologize for not being informed on this initiative that it's been going on for a long time. And I didn't stay there for very long. I stayed there for almost 10 days, and I left the island fascinated by the possibility, and also feeling really challenged by not knowing the kind of mechanism that could be used. Now, hearing from you that you've been working on that for 30 years is kind of overwhelming, really overwhelming. I'd love to learn more about your work. If you could send me some of the information on my email in the chat, I'd really appreciate it.
Yes, maybe, but the first author of this presentation is Tian Marajou. Tian Marajou was born in Marajou, and she is master degrees. It was in Marajou also, and she stayed 6 months riding a buffalo to apply questionnaire in Marajou. That is very interesting. And in Marajou we have some colleagues like in extension services. People are very efficient. Usually people, or even people from Embrapa who are working in Marajou. Embrapa, it's a agricultural research center. And but if you have land access, as said Marie very well, the land access and the no policy to support any initiative for the young people, is better to go directly to Belém to have a job and to come back just the weekend and during the holidays to come back to Marajou. And for the ranchers, the big rancher, they have 10,000 or 20 or 30,000 hectares, and usually with a pasture, very degraded pasture, because during 200 or 300 years, it's just to grazing, no management, and we have overgrazing in the place where we have water during the summer, and in the other place when you have during main part of the year a very good pasture, we have no animals. It's very, very complicated, and the productivity is very low. But I remember when I worked with Professor Long in the Tibetan Plateau, it's the context, the physical context is completely different, but the social economics context is not different. It's not the same, but it's very, very similar.
Yes.
And Long, in your region, the main effect of the public policy, is the main significant change are due to the public policy.
Hello? Hello?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
May I say something? Just a few comments. Hello?
Yes, you can talk.
Oh, yes. Yes, thank you. And that's a very interesting presentation, including the previous ones also. I would like to have some comments. You talk about the grassland dilemmas, and this kind of a situation also exists in China, particularly in the rangeland of the China, for example, in the Tibetan Plateau, that's highland. And just last week, I was in the center of the Tibetan Plateau, and I have a few days and with the herders and survey on the rangeland and talk to the policymakers and also talk to the herders and also talk to the business person over there. And yes, some in the center of the Tibetan where I was there last week, because the source of the river and it's very high, about 5,000 meters or 4,000 meters to the 5,000 meters high. That's the highland of the we call the open grassland. That area also, because it's sometimes it's overgrazing in some area, and also the lack of the water. Now is sand. There's a lot of sand and other appear. We call the degradation. But this the good thing is that we have the national or the provincial, this kind of a policy. They also this they're quite good of the policy from the local level and to the government level to the central government. So they invest in that area and trying to recover or recover of this land and grassland. And they run, you know, the few years back when you visit the Chilean mountain, and that time we are still, you know, this individual family, individual herders who are run this about maybe 200 or 300 hectares of rangeland. And nowadays, in the across of the Tibetan plateau, they already form some of the collective. That means the few farmers or 10 farmers or 10 herders and or even more, they come together to join together to run that kind of the landscape and the water, these kind of things. So this our government very encourage of that people before that individual fast farmers, they have a very limited of the water or limited of the rangeland, but nowadays they come together to form this collective. So that's nowadays I found it's quite a good model. So this kind of model I maybe later on I can show in some conference and to show how our area in that very highland, very fragile area, how we can develop this kind of model, and we can share with Africa, with Brazil and other countries. So maybe later on we can have this opportunity. Another thing, last time I mentioned, we are going to have the International Mountain Everest Forum in the mid of the July, but it's unfortunately they have postponed to the middle of the September, about 2 months later. Maybe by then we can prepare some presentations from the different country and from the Africa, from the South Africa and from other countries. We can share some what is a different region experience. We can share each other to improve. Maybe that's good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Long. Thank you. It's very interesting. As maybe many times when we look and analysis in another place, apparently completely different, and we have the same driver of change, of the same constraints like this. It's the concept of comparative analysis. It's very interesting in this kind.
Yes.
Maybe we have another question. Bon, if we don't have another question, maybe we can start with a presentation of Linda. Oh, we have a lot of people on the screen. And I have noted you say the forum of the mid-July is postponed from mid-September. Okay.
This is just last week, and the local organizers said they have to postpone because some reason, and so just
Yes,
last weekend
maybe.
I come back. Yeah.
Yes, maybe in the group today we have Alessandro Mate has a very interesting presentation of south of Brazil about the marketing of small breeders who produce sheep meat and to market in the Porto Alegre, and we have 2 or 3 other possible presentation. Well, now we can start the presentation of Professor Dr. Mrs. Linda Alouche. Linda,
Yes.
you put directly your presentation, or you can I put your presentation?
I will try again. I don't know. I cannot put it. I'm sorry.
No, but
Your browser is.
I can put it. I can put it, and you
Yes,
say
yes,
when
please.
you want to change the slide. Okay.
Okay.
I
Okay.
put just a moment. 2 minutes. 2 minutes to Zoom réunion. Partager. Where is your presentation? This.
Please.
Okay, just I.
Thank you, François.
Just a moment. I put right there the large screen. Yes. Just a moment. Like this. No, sorry. I need to share again. Where is it? Like this. Okay, and I put this. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So, hello everyone, and thank you for inviting me for this interesting meeting. So my presentation is entitled Reproductive Performance of Montbéliard cows reared under subtropical environmental effects of heat, stress, and acclimatization duration. The next slide, please. François, the next slide.
Okay.
So heat stress is in hot environment is one of the major factors that can negatively affect the milk production, the reproduction, and the health of dairy cows. The next slide. In Algeria, the government has advocated to import cows with high genetic potential and semen from many developed countries such as France, Austria, Canada to produce more and high quality of milk to satisfy consumers' needs. Among the important pure breeds, there are Montbéliard, Fleckvieh, and Holstein breeds. The next slide. However, as meat has an attractive price compared to milk, Algerian farmers prefer to raise Montbéliard cows to produce mainly the veal and not the milk. They also judge that Montbéliard breed has a good hardness and adaptability to our hard condition compared to other breeds such as Holstein. The next slide, please. The objective of this research work is to evaluate the reproduction performance of Montbéliard cows imported from France and reared under subtropical Algerian environment conditions, and to investigate the effects of summer heat, stress, and exposure under this condition. The next slide. For the animals and management, the
Hello, we have some problem with oh, maybe just a moment.
Okay.
I have some problem with your connection. Well, I have some problem to Linda. Linda, do you listen? Well, maybe Linda is not here. Linda, I think Linda have a connection problem.
Yes.
Well, maybe you have to imagine another alternative. Yes, no. Maybe. Derek, please, can you contact Linda? Because I can't directly.
Yes, I can try to talk with her, but I don't have the WhatsApp of her. I don't know.
And she's active, yes. Bon, I don't know. Active, I try. It's not possible to. How many participants we have?
There's no contact.
Linda, sorry, yes, Linda say in the chat, sorry, François, my connection is bad last day, so please let me to present my communication just after Marie, yes. And now yes. I think Linda has a very bad connection. She can't access. Bon, and we don't have. The next is Alejandro Tonelli from Argentina is not connected. No.
No.
Linda? Well, maybe. Just a moment. Linda, bon, I think you have to adopt the B plan and maybe the C plan, because our colleague from Argentina is not with us. Alejandro Tonelli is present, not. But there are two other Argentine people, but not Alejandro. Or maybe Alejandro send, just I check my email to see if Alejandro or Linda. Yes, Linda say, okay. And Alejandro, I don't understand. Alejandro send his presentation, but it is not online. I don't understand why. Bon. And now, what is, sorry, I put what is the situation is a little, we have the two, Linda is not connected, and Alejandro Tonelli sent an email. He said, I am connected, but maybe he is not connected at the same meeting because it is not in the, I don't know really. Do you have any message of Emish? Linda said, well, I think we have to decide. It's 3:00 p.m. in France, 1 p.m. GMT. But if we don't have more presentation, maybe if someone want to say something, that means for the next meeting, we have to organize. The event in another way.
Hello?
Linda.
Hello?
Yes.
Sorry. I don't know what it was happened. I'm connected, but I can see you, Francois, now. Can you please share the screen, my presentation?
Okay. That's fine.
Yes, I stopped, I think, in animal and management. And sorry for all.
I share your, just a minute. I share the button.
Thank you.
I share this. It's okay?
Yes, thank you.
Let's go.
As I explained it, that the breeder adopted a similar feeding and management. The next slide, please.
Just a moment.
Yes. The study was carried in Sétif area. Sétif is northeast Algeria, and it was characterized by a subtropical environment. It is the red region. Yes, the next one.
Okay.
This is the meteorological data obtained from local weather station for this area. So as you see, the temperature reached 44 to 45 in summer and ranged from 23 to 36 in fall. It is a hot area and with a maximum of temperature humidity index about 100. The next slide, please. As you see here, for example, that the animal has to continue to produce and to produce milk and reproduce in hotter weather for long dry periods with limited feeds and limited water. The next slide. Such as environments requires animals more tolerant, able to produce in these hard conditions. The next one, Francois. So the animals aged, the mean age of the cows was 4 years. The feeding during the summer and fall is a mixed ration containing wheat, straws, grass, corn, grass, legume, and commercial concentrate. And they had access to water 2 to 3 times per day, depending on the temperature. The next slide. In Algeria, the cows are often imported from their native countries when they are pregnant at about 7 months of pregnancy to calve here in Algeria. The next. So for this study, we divided the cows to two groups, considering the duration of their livestock, under Algerian subtropical environment. So the first group are the cows who were reared for a period less than 12 months, and the second one are the cows who were reared for a period more or equal 1 year in Algeria. The next slide. For this study, we evaluated the reproduction performance. So cows were inseminated after visual heat detection with frozen semen of 5 for proven fertility Montbéliard bulls. Cows were diagnosed as pregnant via rectal palpation after 10 weeks. For the fertility, we considered the following parameters as pregnancy rates after 1, 2, and 3 artificial insemination. We calculated also the overall pregnancy rate and the number of artificial insemination per conception. For the fecundity, we considered calving conception interval, frequency of calving conception interval more than 110 days, and the calving interval. The next slide. In addition, the following data were recorded for 51 cows after calving, such as gestation length, calf sex frequencies, and calving type. The calving type was measured using 5 scores, 1 very easy and 5 after cesarean section. The next slide. For the statistical analysis, many tests were performed. So for comparing the frequency of different parameters between summer and fall, or between the cows that were in Algeria less than 1 year, and cows who lived in Algeria more than 1 year, we used key scores or Fisher exact test. While for comparing data means of all variables, we used student test. Yes, the next slide. For our results, regarding fertility and fecundity parameters of Montbéliard. So, if you see here, for example, for the pregnant cows, we have a good high frequency after 1 artificial insemination. The frequency was about 78%. The overall pregnancy rate was about 69%, and the number of artificial insemination per conception was 1.5. Regarding fecundity parameters, here we have 130 days for cows who had long calving conception interval. We have 62%, and the for calving interval we have a mean length of 4 days. The next slide, please. Yes, this is a comparison, comparative data between summer and fall. There is the next.
No,
the next one. No, yes, the next one. Yes, it's good. This is for the table 3. So if you see here, there is no significant, no difference between both seasons. The fertility parameters was similar between both seasons, summer and the fall. For example, we have here for summer about 80% for pregnant cause after one artificial insemination. In the fall, 75, it's similar. The same for overall pregnancy rate and for the number of artificial insemination per conception. While for the fecundity parameter, if you can, I don't know if you can see very good because normally it was colored with the red. Here I can't see the color. So we have for the fall, the interval calving conception interval was longer in summer than in the fall. So there is a significant difference. And the same for we have more, we have a high frequency of cows who were long calving conception interval in summer compared to fall. The next slide, please. For the, yes, this is the same one. Yes, that's what I colored with the red one. If you see, for example, here also for cows who were in Algeria more than 1 year has shorter calving conception interval than the cows who lived in Algeria less than 1 year. The next slide, please. Regarding gestation length, we noticed that 280 days. For the birth number, we have 94% single, and we registered about 6% twins. Calving type, we have 94 cows calved easily. And regarding the sex of the calf, it is equal. So we obtained a similar frequency male calf and female calves. The next one. Discussion. Fertility and effect of heat stress and duration of livestock. The fertility parameters recorded are within the standard values recommended by Vallée, except the overall pregnancy rate, which was low due probably to the short period of our investigation. The next one. Obviously, using a high quality of semen quality for artificial insemination improve fertility and increase genetic gain as indicated by several studies. Moreover, using artificial insemination during summer avoid the negative effect of heat stress on bull performance on dairies. The next one. Yes, 23. Nevertheless, of a high overall pregnancy rate, 98 was recently reported when Montbéliard cows were crossed with a Belgian blue-white breed bull. This breed is a meat breed, and the same breed was crossed with this meat breed, and we obtained better results than those showed in this presentation. And the animal reared and under the same in the same livestock condition. The next one. However, the pregnancy rate observed in our investigation after 1, 2, and 3 artificial insemination recorded were better in Montbéliard cows reared under difficult conditions than those reported in Montbéliard cows reared in Ireland. In our research work, no effect of heat stress was observed neither on pregnancy rates nor on the number of artificial insemination per conception in Montbéliard cows. The next one. Interesting, the fertility parameters in our study were similar between cows who were introduced recently in Algeria and reared under subtropical climate for a period less than 1 year, and those who were reared for superior period. No study reported the effect of duration of livestock under subtropical condition on reproductive performance of Montbéliard. The next one. Fecundity parameters and effect of heat stress or duration of livestock. The Montbéliard cows reared under subtropical condition had a long calving conception interval, longer in summer than in fall, and among cows reared for period less than 1 year, than those reared for a period more than 1 year. Most of Montbéliard cows had long calving conception interval. Frequency were higher in summer than in fall by 31 points. And among cows reared for period less than 1 year by 40 points than those reared for period more or equal 1 year. Yes, the next one. Moreover, the calving interval was longer, notably among cows who reared for a period more than 1 year than those reared for a period less than 1 year. All fecundity parameters were outside of the recommended norm. Yes. Our results reveal that fecundity parameters of Montbéliard cow imported from France were affected by heat stress, mainly during the first year of their introducing in Algeria, where temperature in summer reached 45 degrees Celsius, and hence cows will be faced to hard breeding conditions. Young cows were not yet be adapted to high temperature. Yes, the next one. Our results show that cows exhibited a shorter calving interval and calving conception interval after 1 year of livestock in Algeria, which could be explained by their adaptability and tolerance after this period to the high temperature and hard breeding condition. Yes, the next one. Gestation length, calving type and calf sex, frequency, and effect of heat stress or duration of livestock. Length gestation was close to that reported in Montbéliard cows in previous study. Most of cows reared under our condition had easy calving. Frequency of male calves recorded was similar to the frequency of female. In Algeria, the Montbéliard are raised to produce primary meat veal because it has an attractive price, as explained previously. The next one. In conclusion, no effect of heat stress was observed on all fertility parameters of introduced Montbéliard cows, whereas fecundity parameters seems to be altered. Our study highlighted that summer heat stress had a negative effect mainly on Montbéliard cows introduced recently for breeding in subtropical environment. Therefore, this young cows require more attention for heat detection, which can alleviate the reproductive problems. Cooling system using this is a recommendation for farmers who live in this kind of region. So cooling systems using aids to stress detection and hormone treatment seem appropriate to minimize days open and calving interval under heat stress, allowing then more profitability for producers and reducing economic losses. And thank you for your attention, and sorry for this disconnection. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Linda, for your presentation. Just a moment, I check. I stop share. Okay, that's fine. Yes. Any question about the presentation of Linda, or any comments or suggestion? Some specialist of milk production or dairy production? Well, I have 2 or 3 questions. Now, the first is, do you think when you say there are no effect of weather on the fertility or fecundity parameters, and do you see it's the same with other breed like Holstein, or even breed from the origin is North Europe, like Angus or Hereford, or like this?
Yeah, yes, for this kind of, yes, we until now we did just we try just to compare the Montbéliard cows, the fertility and fecundity parameters between the Montbéliard cows, because as I explained you in the presentation, it's the farmer of the region, in this region, in Sétif area, prefer to raise this kind of breed, and don't prefer at all Holstein, or maybe that we can find this kind of breeds in not in the eastern of Algeria, maybe in the west, in the Oron or Constantine, or but our farmers really prefer firstly Montbéliard, and secondly the Fleegby.
Yes, but the main reason is for us is Montbéliard is more resistant, like
Yes,
oak.
yes, yes, they believe for this theory. That's why we try to confirm or not their idea, and I think partially they have reason to believe for that Montbéliard are more tolerant for our hard conditions.
Yes, and what the breeder said about because during the summer, for you in this part of Algeria, it's hot during the summer, but it's cold during the winter.
Yes, yes, and mainly in Sétif. Sétif also is very cold, and it's snow also in Sétif in some years. Not in this year, unfortunately, but it's snow in Sétif. Yes, it's cold. We had a cold day until -4 or 5 degrees. So it is also cold. But as I explained you, our farmers judge that the Montbéliard is better, is more resistant for some disease, for hard conditions, and they produce better than Holstein. That's why we cannot find here many Holstein cows.
And in your region, about the size of the herd at the regional scale, how many? What is the percentage of Montbéliard, Holstein, or other more or less? It's just some percent of 10, 12, or 15, 20, 25?
I don't know. I have not the exact.
Basically.
I have to ask the question maybe to my colleague who is absent today. Sorry.
And do you know, we have the same, but I am also, I think every time to the question of Professor Long about the adaptation of the production to the local context, even in weather context. And
Yes.
And maybe sometime in the case of Marajo, the case before Marajo, when the buffalo arrived, it was just an accident. The boat crossing near from Marajo with some problem with the motor of the boat, and they put the buffalo on the Marajo Island, and nobody thinks the adaptation of buffalo to this context. Maybe you have sometimes very interesting and surprise event, and because it's a little complex because the island of Atlas, the Atlas Island in the case of Algeria, are very different of the Alps and the weather is different, and maybe and what is the difference in terms of production between the traditional breed and the Montbéliard or Holstein? Or today all the production is based on the Holstein or Montbéliard. What is the main difference between the Montbéliard system and the other system? It's the same? Linda? Linda disappeared. Linda disappeared. Where is it? I hope it's not my question. Where is Linda? No Linda. Bon, maybe. Linda. Hello. Hello, Linda. No, I don't know. I don't know if you access. Anybody have an access? Vanya is arriving. No, Vanya is. Vanya, Linda. No, Linda, I think. Bon, sorry, but I have not. I just checked my email to know our colleague from Argentina. Where is our guy? Alejandro? Linda? Bon, I don't know. Christina, you said, yes, it's the problem of the direct transmission is not very easy. And alors, Linda is out, offline. Alejandro is not online. Sorry if some of you have any question or any comments. Well, maybe for the next event we have to plan another presentation to substitute when we have some problem with one or two presentation. Other thing, no, it's very interesting this kind of event to progress. And I profit the talks about Professor Long at the beginning when he talks the event in September. If we can, maybe in September it will not possible to travel to China, unfortunately, because to go to the Everest just for people who work in the Highland project, it's interesting. Everest, is the highest peak. Linda?
Yes, I'm reconnected again. Sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I am
No,
obliged to stop my video without disconnect. I'm sorry.
no, don't problem. Alors, for the other
For the
participants.
production,
Yes.
Francois, you asked me the question about the production of these breeds. As I saw here in eastern of Algeria, people like to raise the animal for meat production, while in the west of Algeria, we can say that people maybe are interested more to produce milk and dairy products. That's why they prefer to raise Holstein, for example. And the area in west of Algeria has no, there is no mountain or, for example, in Constantine, the weather is not very hot as in city, and there is not, and the region is not a mountainous area. It's depending of farmers and the area where they live and what they want to produce.
Okay. No, but interesting. But you think in the future, how you imagine the herd of the herd of cattle in Algeria? We are more people with Montbéliard, and what is the future? The scenario, the main scenario of the future in Algeria regarding
Yes.
like the
Yes, the scenario, there is a good remark that I noticed here in my area. Now, for example, farmers or breeders prefer to raise the calf uh, who were born here. It means the local calves. They prefer this cow than the imported cows. They have a good remark that we need to confirm it as a scientific researcher. They say that the calf born here in Algeria are more resistant and they produce better milk. So we have to test again this theory, because I know some good breeder that they have a good cows, and they say me like, look, for example, for this cow produce a better quality milk than the cows that the imported cows. We have to confirm this remark. So for the moment, Algeria continue to import cows because there is not really a program for genetic selection. There is just the artificial insemination that was performed for improving milk quality, but there is not a very good program for genetic selection.
but it's interesting in terms of regarding the future. It's based on local breed, how local breed and to join to the first the last comment in the presentation in Marie, when the professor from University of São Paulo said to adapt the production, to adapt the market to the production, and not to adapt the production of the market.
Yes.
And yes, no, but
yes.
It's very interesting, because if you adapt the market of the production, you have a specific context in the mountain area with a very strong summer, strong and dry summer, and a strong winter, and it's better to adapt the market to the production than to adapt the production the market, because if you adapt the production to the market, you change completely you have an artificial system.
Yes, yes, I agree the idea, yes.
No, but and maybe usually I was very surprised. It's not a critique, but European people and European scientists, they talk about the as Europe was the beginning of the cheese and milk production, I say, and especially in the south of Mediterranean, you have a very great experience of 2 or 3 thousand years of milk and cheese factory.
Yes.
And it's very different. Okay, any question? Well, people, I say some of you have some difficulties to speak in English, but don't worry. Nobody speaks more than me. And and to continue, I don't have any. Alejandro Tonelli from Argentina send me 2 presentations, but I was and I don't know. He sent me the presentation in PDF and the presentation in. Maybe I share you the presentation. I share with you the presentation just a moment, but we don't have. He is not here to present. Where is it? This presentation. Peasant practices in Mendoza, rationality, productivity, and desertification. Okay. Bon, maybe I think we can close if you have nobody have a comment or suggestion. But it was very interesting for us in terms of logistic and technical issues. It is very interesting. Maybe I have another email from our colleague. Just a moment, I check. Not, we don't have. Maybe I suggest you to send us an email with your comment about comment and suggestion, remarks or comments as you want, and suggestion about this event, because this kind of event is very interesting because it's very cheap, and maybe it's give you, especially to the young researcher, an opportunity to not to visit a region, but maybe we can think in the future to have some video, and before the presentation we have a video of the region to better present the context, or like this. It is a possibility, and we have a lot of opportunity with all these new technologies, and we have to adapt ourselves to this technology, and especially for the young, and for you, because for us some of us, we are retired, but I think it's a good opportunity. Or maybe if you can send an email with your comment and suggestion. Bon, for us to have this first meeting by Zoom, and I don't have, maybe Derek, do you have some information about Facebook and YouTube? But for me, it's not possible to manage the Zoom meeting and in the same time to go to Facebook and YouTube to check how is running. That means even the meetings like this is seems very simple to organize. I think we need a group every time, a group of 3 or 4 people to organize. And Derek can confirm you exchange a lot along during the past day just to organize. And you see like Alejandro today morning Alejandro say no, I'm okay, we test the Zoom system, and today he sent me the email and he has not in the meeting. Okay, but maybe we send you an email and you respond to this email, and you can respond just for us. You can respond to all the participants, but you can respond just for us. And maybe Xiaoping, Ying, and Shifuyu, and other Christina, yeah, send me your email, because I have not. Wei Wang also, I have not your email. Maybe the next in the next event we have 1 or 2 guys from China in the. Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you very much.
See you next time.
See you, Zhang.
And thank you very much for your participation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.